Hello, everyone. This is David Ellis with Nicole LaCroce, and we're back with another episode of UCM VIBE.
Hi,
And
everyone.
on today's episode, we are going to be dealing with the concept of the cult experience. And so, what is the cult experience? It's when you find yourself in movements or certain areas or certain places in the spiritual community or in the religious community where you're only thinking one way, and many of you may have had family members or children who have been involved in cults, and it's a whole brainwashing experience. And so we're going to get into all of that today. But before we do that, Nicole,
Mhm.
first of all, introduce yourself, tell us what you're into, and pretty much what do you think about the cult experience?
Hi, everybody. My name is Nicole DeCroce, and I'm an intuitive strategist. And well, the cold experience, I've had experience with it, whether it be family members or friends, clients, and it really is pretty deep. There's a lot of levels to it. And there's a lot of different ways to navigate it. And we do have an expert or a person coming on today to talk about it and really take a deep dive because, like you said, David, a lot of people don't know that they're in it, right? Yeah.
Yeah, the hardest thing about the cult experience is that everybody who has had a cult experience will deny having a cult experience. They just really believe strongly in things, so much so that they will disrespect anyone who
Mhm.
tries to show them a different way of being. And so, in today's broadcast, what we're doing is we're bringing on someone who has had the experience, who has the scars and all the warts, and is willing to share with us. All right, his plans in the future, pretty much are to help people who have that cult experience. And so, first, without further ado, I think I'll bring David on. Meet David Chance. David, I'm
Hi,
just going to
David.
move you around here.
Nice. There you go.
There we go.
That's good. Mhm.
All right,
That's good.
David.
Hmm. Hello.
David, introduce yourself.
Yeah, my name is David Chance. I was born in a Mormon religion, so that's the cult that I was born into. And you don't know you're in one, and if you're raised in it from birth, and your parents got the same programming you get. So one of the biggest accomplishments of my life, just reflecting back once I've left that mentality, was not allowing, not say allowing. I broke out before my kids got conditioned, and so it was a nice breaking the family curse. Looking back, that kind of made everything worthwhile in a sense. My kids don't have to go through the guilt tripping of all this stuff, and can basically had a free slate to see how to live life. So that's kind of a
Mhm.
benefit that I saw looking back.
Yeah, I can imagine. So, when you say the cult experience, what does the cult experience mean to you?
Well, I think there's a difference, and we can define that, I guess, what a cult is and what a religion is, and or what
Mhm.
spirituality is, even because. But a cult is, I looked at it reflecting back, and it's something that takes more of your time and energy. They take away your time, your energy, your money, your resources.
Mhm.
They keep you busy nonstop, so you can't get sidetracked out. They control your thinking, your belief systems, your basically everything that just like understanding how your mind works, the subconscious. Once you realize that, it's like you realize how we got programmed. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine. Nikki, from
Mhm.
your perspective, and from a spiritual perspective, what do you think the cult is? Because from where I see it, a lot of cults, what they do is they pretty much harvest energy from people in such a way that people are so indoctrinated. They become like dependent on the cult. So there's a codependency, a spiritual codependency that develops with the cult. A lot of people who are in cults, they are validated by the cult leaders and the cult members.
Mhm.
So, from a spiritual perspective, what do you see when it is that you are thinking about cults?
Mm. Well, from what I've experienced, when they get involved with a cult, they're just trying to find their tribe or their people. They're
Mhm.
trying to get validation. And then when somebody takes them under their wing, they feel very powerful, like, but it's a false sense of power. But they
Yeah.
feel that. And then when the control factors come in, they actually don't know how to wiggle their way out of it or don't know how to change their mindset. And they're so programmable because they're so weak. So it's hard to get in. It's hard to get out
Hmm.
for a client. Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
think it would be helpful for our audience if we distinguish between a legit religion or legit spiritual path and a
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
cult.
But
Um,
before you go there, Dave, what, like, even like the Catholic Church, do you think?
mm,
I think the maybe let's just look at the micro cults. Let's just say, Jehovah's Witness and Mormons and whatnot. It's more micromanaged than compared to, say, the Catholic Church. Even though they have control, it doesn't seem like they got you micromanaged as much, but you still have the guilt in the programming. Do you
yeah,
see that?
well, you see, yeah, I see that, which is why I actually brought up that question
Hmm.
because cults have certain traits about them. Okay, so I've been a therapist for a while, so I'm telling you that there are certain traits that the cults have about them, and you could see it in the cult members.
Hmm.
So one of the first traits is that there's always a leader that they have to follow. It's always centralized around a leader. The second thing is that they have a belief system which is not part of normal discourse.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so
Their own version of truth.
yeah, so when people join these cults, they think that they're getting some expansive knowledge that no
Yeah.
one else has, right?
Right. 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 Right.
The third thing is that they utilize people's emotions against them. In
Hmm.
the example that you were bringing up, the Catholic Church has been notorious for weaponizing guilt.
Hmm.
And so, honestly, in my opinion, I'm sure I'm going to offend somebody by saying this. In my opinion, having gone to a Catholic school myself, okay,
Hmm.
having studied under the Catholic theology, my impression is that there is cult like behavior in Catholicism because there are some people out there who are Catholic who will say to you, I would die for the Pope. That's dangerous.
Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
They are willing to go in the 20th century, in 2023. There are people out there who are willing to go to war, right? Physical, literal war on behalf of the religion. The Pope just
Yeah.
has to say the word.
Yeah.
And
And
so,
so let's just look at the perspective since we're here with the Pope and then the whole,
mhm,
let's just say, gay issue with all the letters and stuff. Like, what would life
I love
be?
it.
What would life be if your authority figures said, "We're now going to accept these people"? Do you think, like, how do you think the masses will they accept them? Will they keep rejecting them because the beliefs are so hard?
All right.
If that was a true thing.
Mm.
That's a good question because that's part of the mainstream media. Nicole, I'm going to let you tackle this one and bounce it back to me because I really want to hear this one.
I just have this view that what happened with the Catholic Church, yes, there were gay people that they were hiding, but there was also pedophiles that they were hiding,
Even
right?
in the Mormons are full of.
Yeah, so they're hiding all these people. So if they would just let them, or even the men get married, there wouldn't be so many issues because they just keep hiding, hiding, hiding,
Well, it
and it's just
separates their tribe,
unhealthy.
right? It separates the
Yeah.
tribe. So if they just use that, then they could get all those people back. But then it would be interesting to see who would be hardcore old beliefs and who would be accepting and compassionate. And then would the people even come back? And then they go, well, oh, we're allowing you to come back now. And no, you don't, because it's a shunning thing in the Mormon thing. It's a big
Yeah.
you lose everybody. You get kicked out. You lose everything. You know your whole belief system is shattered. You know
Oh,
when
well, I have a couple of questions to ask. The first thing is I want to just express my opinion where
sure,
that topic is concerned. That is in mainstream media right now.
yeah,
It
yeah,
used to be, and I'm going to pick up on what Nicole said. It used to be if you had a belief system, I am not the kind of person that should be able to come to you and say your belief system is wrong. Come over to my side of the fence. Okay.
hmm
So, as an example, you read the Bible. We all read the Bible or read the Bible at some point. It's okay, some of us may not have read the Bible. And the Bible says certain things which are unambiguous, but then we say that the Bible is wrong or people are interpreting it wrongly. I do not understand why, in the last 20 or so years, an entire movement, a political movement, has developed around the Bible. It should not be a political movement around the Bible. It's either theology or not theology. There's a philosophy about this construct. So, as an example, let's say, David, you say that you believe in the purple haired dragon that flies around the earth.
hmm
Okay? The purple haired dragon has told you, do not watch Barney the dinosaur.
yeah,
The purple haired dragon has told you, do not watch Barney the dinosaur. It has been so for generations. That's what we're doing. We're not watching Barney the dinosaur. Then a cult develops and says, we about that Barney life. Okay? Right? They start making little effigies of Barney. They start giving it to their kids and stuff like that.
we're nothing but purple.
Right. You tell the people who are the Barney instigators, right?
Mm, yeah,
Hi, purple head flying monster said nobody. And they say to you, you've interpreted that wrong. You've interpreted it wrong. And you're like, no, my parents, my grandparents, my grandparents' grandparents interpreted it one way. Why would you, coming in what last 10 years, tell me something different?
Mhm.
There are different ways of initiating cults because we're talking about religious cults and spiritual cults, but there are also social cults.
Mm,
Okay? And they are by far the most lethal out there. And so you have people that are banding together under around political ideas, as an example,
yeah,
and
yeah,
it's
yeah,
a very dangerous thing. That's the first thing I would like to say. The
yeah.
second thing I would like to say is the question of belief and faith and all that sort of stuff. And this is something I want to say to the spiritual community. Many of y'all don't have faith. Many of y'all do not have faith in what you're
That's
doing.
a word that's been distorted. I think I have to kind of redefine that, you know, because we need to redefine these old meanings to. For me, that's kind of been a distorted F word.
Okay, let me put it to you this way. If it is that I went to my grandmother who died a few years ago, she lived to
Mm.
106, and I said, Granny, I am now worshiping the purple flying dragon.
Yeah,
It would not go down well.
yeah, shock.
If it is that I try to convert my grandmother to the purple head flying dragon, she'd be like, have you lost your friggin' mind? I am older than you. I have been around longer than you. There's no purple flying dragon around the earth.
Mhm.
So there's a question of faith. I am going to knock everyone who is watching this broadcast right now. I'm going to challenge y'all. If you are Muslim, as an example, if you are Christian, as an example, the underlying common denominator in both of these theologies is that the principal figures in Islam, Muhammad, and the principal figure in the uh, the
Christian.
Christian theology is Jesus. Okay, let me ask you a question. Jesus was willing to die for his belief. You remember the guy that got crucified on the cross? That guy, yeah. And Muhammad, well, he was willing to fight the entire world. 65 military conflicts in his lifespan. Do you understand how much stress that would be? 65 armed military conflicts in his life. That's a lot of stress. That man went to bat for Islam, okay?
Hmm.
So, who are you as an individual Christian or Muslim or a spiritual person to say to yourself, yeah, I'm not about that? You fold like a napkin whenever you are challenged in your belief system. Here's what I would say to everybody, and even the people who are entering cults or getting, if what somebody is saying to you does not align with what is happening inside your values as a human being,
Hmm.
shun that stuff. So if your cult leader comes to you and says, that Barney worshiper David, you see that man? Stay away from that man. That man is the devil. And you know that David is a good person.
Yeah, they forgot how to feel for themselves and to
Correct.
think for
Or
themselves.
think as
Yeah, yeah,
well.
yeah.
And
They
blindly
forgot how to
follow.
feel, think, because they allowed the authority figures in our life to do the thing for us, and we just obedience that went into obedience mode, right? Instead of, conscious awareness, I
Hmm.
guess. But the
And a
other thing,
lot of
Dave, you
things, I'm
mentioned,
sorry. Hmm.
I just want to mention one thing is most people defend something they really can't support 100%. So if you really got down into their beliefs, they really can't support it, and that's really what I see people getting out of these cults, just because something they that triggers them to the core that has to create a difference in their belief system or what's going on, which is either child molestation, whatever that could be, that deep has to trigger them, and it's usually something like with
What about
them
what about the
them
concept
allowing
of prayer?
them doing something that I look at it like this: they're doing what Abraham didn't. They're
Correct.
allowing their kid to be sacrificed, and they'd let it go without, oh, no, 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 no. Abraham at least said, no, no way, you got it in the past, where they're allowing their kids to get slaughtered, and just they did exactly what Abraham did. And so when they realize that, then that's where people are at when they leave those cults, is they allowed their kids to go to the extreme of maybe suicide, and they have to like take a second look, like they allowed religion or that belief system to trump their child.
Yeah,
That's the
Nicole,
part.
Nikki, you wanted to say something?
Oh,
Sorry.
well, I was just even on this subject. Yeah, no, even in this subject, in the Mormon church, I've had some experience with that. And what I found was pretty much a shame is that when they have to go on mission, when they're like 15, 16 years old, and they have to leave their family. And that's so sad. And they have to go. It's like for 2 years. Their
Mhm.
parents have to pay for everything, but it's very bad living conditions. And it's very traumatic for them.
You learn a lot, but yeah, I mean that's the one thing I had to go, because if you don't go, you're not accepted fully into the
Right,
community. That's your manhood.
right.
That's your manhood card. If you don't
Hmm.
finish, you come
Right,
back, and then you're shunned in a way, because as soon as you get back, you're getting married, and then you're popping out
right.
kids, and then you're one of the adults, and then you just fit in. So it's that, and they get you
Yeah.
from birth in the primary by song, saying, I hope they call me on a mission. They get you that subconscious going, I hope they call
Um,
me on a mission when I have grown a foot or two. And then next thing you know, you're 18, and then you feel guilty if you don't, and you have to, because you've been programmed. And just
mhm.
interesting, the programs they use, like to keep you in check as a kid, like choose the right, and they
All
have
right. So I'd like to I
rings
would
to
like
the.
I would like to backtrack here because David,
Okay.
your experience has been with Mormonism, correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so as a child, could you describe your experience of indoctrination?
Hmm. Yeah, started with songs. Um, the interesting thing about the Mormon church is you go through um, classes all the time as a kid. So the song thing is what I'm remembering. Also, you're programmed to go on the mission and do that, or you're not accepted, like I mentioned. But at 8 years old, you're baptized, and
Hmm.
so
Okay.
that's when they get you, when your subconscious mind is right when it's about to, you know.
Why 8 years old?
Um, I don't know exactly why they do it at 8, but that's just when if you get it, just like the Jesuits said, if you can capture their mind till they're 6 or 7 years old, they got you for life. Like they can melt your mind at that age. So I think they do that, and then
Hmm.
right after that step, we do things that was weird, because they do a lot of genealogy in the church.
Hmm.
They do these things where they baptize dead people, and so they take the children, and we go to these temples, and we go in there, and they have these fonts, and they baptize you like 20, 30 times in a row in the name of, in behalf of that other dead person. And so you're taking on these energies of dead people, trying to convert them
That's a
that are
very
already
serious
dead.
ritual.
Yeah, and they're doing it in the sense of trying to go into the death and bring them back, and so it's a very interesting thing when you look at that, and that's at a young age, and that's when all the youth kind of go through these cultic rituals, and then you go into the temple for marriage, and there's no marriage ceremony, but there's a moment when you sit down and you realize you're with a bunch of people dressed up funny, and they say, when you realize you like are in this experience and you're not going to walk out because you're in the middle of all your people, and you're shocked because there's a moment sitting in the temple where it's like a satanic ritual, and this is supposed to be the woman's marriage, and only people. So they wake up, and they come out and they're acting all happy, and there's no dream of marriage, but that's what they push on you the whole thing. Because once you get off the mission, the women get married at 18, 19, and then it's kids, and then they got you because you just play along, and that's how they repopulate the numbers, because their newest converts are all from kids, not from necessarily knocking on doors, But yeah, you learn. I had to look back at that mission and go, like, I had to look what I learned rather than, I wasted my time or I got duped or what. That moment of being duped when you leave, like you wasted all your time. How did I believe that? How could I feel so dumb? That moment of, you have to really address your inner self at that moment. But anyways, yeah.
No, I get it. I get it. Actually, there is that thing. Nicole, your background is
Mm-hmm.
Catholic, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
like like mine in terms of the
Mm-hmm.
Christianity thing.
Mm-hmm.
I want to drop a few facts here, a few truth bombs on this show. The origin of the Luciferian Church. You know, Lucifer, the other guy, the other
Mm-hmm.
guy.
Mm-hmm.
The origins of the Satanic Church, the Satanic Temple, was it was founded by ex-Catholics. Ex-Catholics.
Mm-hmm.
These guys were so angry at being duped. You understand the amount of guilt you are made to feel as a Catholic? That is the selling point of Catholicism. You
Mm-hmm.
are damned from birth. This is not
Yeah.
like David, you're going to get baptized at eight year. Baptism is
Yeah.
to wash away the sin. Okay?
Yeah. You're
Right. So
committed
I'm
first.
assuming that up until 8 years old, you've accumulated enough sin to get baptized. But in
No,
the
maybe.
Catholic Church, you are born the sinner, and you
Yeah.
are told
Right.
that you are that sinner until such time as you're an adult, and then you get baptized. And after that, you have to watch yourself so that you don't sin again.
Yeah.
And
So it's a rigged system. If you have to
it's
like
rigged.
see if you
Correct.
did enough goodness in order to die to figure out if you made it or not. Right. So it's a rigged system.
Right.
If you have to die first. So, but I
Mm-hmm.
mean, even in the Mormon thing, it's all in the temples. It's all Freemason. A lot of Freemason rituals. So a lot of the Freemason rituals are used in the handshakes and different things that they use in Freemasonry to let you know you're one of the homies. The secret handshakes in the Freemasons and stuff.
a
So
lot
it's very
a lot of
traditional.
people like the origin of the Mormon Church and the foundation of Utah and Salt Lake City.
Look at
I know
that.
I
The
know I
one
don't
state
I
that
don't want
controls
to get
everybody
listen.
religiously.
When I read the story, I burst out laughing. We're gonna get into that. I want to go back to the cold though. We're gonna get into that because that is funny
Hey,
as hell.
maybe
I'm
he was
sharing
eating
with the
mushrooms
audience.
in that forest, man. I don't know.
I am
Eating
sharing with the
mushrooms on the
audience.
vision.
I am sharing that with the audience.
Yeah.
Nicole, with regard to ex-Catholics, because you would know Catholics,
Mm-hmm.
some of them when they come out of the Catholic Church, they have an anger inside of them like you cannot believe. Okay, they're
Yes.
upset, they're
Mm-hmm.
vexed, and I'm wondering, is it that they realize, oh, what did I have to feel guilty about? That pisses me off. Is that what happens?
Well, yeah, I know a lot of recovering Catholics, and it's just the brainwashing. And like you said, David, they wake up and they're like, I wasted so much time, and I had so much guilt in my heart because my grandmother told me that that was a sin or whatever, or if they genuflect wrong, or if they don't go to enough confessions in a month.
I
The
just learned that
guilt.
word.
the guilt is horrible. So I think a lot of the people that are, recovering Catholics are really trying to reprogram everything that they were programmed with. And yeah, they're mad. So on
So
the other
even if
side of
you
the
bow
mad,
wrong, so they would get if you
even if
bowed
you
wrong before you went
genuflect
to
wrong,
genuflect, bow
yes.
before you go into the pew, right?
Well, you genuflect when you get in the pew, but when you get up to the altar, you have to genuflect again and bow. So there's
Okay.
all these regulations that you wouldn't know or would know, right?
Yeah, that's
Um,
interesting.
yeah, yeah. But to David's point, a lot of people that leave the Catholic Church, they go to the other extreme and they're wiling out. They're doing everything they were taught not to do, but they do it to the nth degree.
Yeah, and that's
Mhm.
common in every aspect, right? Because
Yeah,
Mormons are
because
taught not to drink, and then they drink excessively, or they're taught not to do this,
Excessively.
they do that excessively, right?
Hmm.
let's talk
Hmm.
about the origins of the Mormon Church, shall we? I'm
Let's go.
sorry if you're
Let's
Mormon and
get
you're
into.
watching this broadcast. Do not kill me. Right. So let me see if I get this straight.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all were being persecuted in New York for the bigamy thing.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all got up and y'all trudged across the United States. Your leader had a tenet that says anybody who got sick or was not able to make the journey was left on the road. Is that correct so far?
Sounds like it. I
Right.
mean, I don't know about left on, but yeah, it's
Yeah,
totally.
I read it. I read it.
Yeah, yeah,
Your
yeah.
leader, I was laughing.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very interesting story of persecution. They call it persecution, but it was more like the
the
guy
law.
was scamming people, everybody all along the way, and he was treasure digger before that. So then, you know,
No,
yeah,
but
he got kicked out of states and kept moving.
no, I have to give this joke.
Go ahead.
Nicole, they had a tenet that anybody who was sick or lame was left on the trail, right? He was bringing them to the promised land.
Mhm.
So something very untoward happened, right? They were on a hill, they were in wagons, one wagon wheel jumped off the wagon, it rolled down the hill, it broke the leader's leg.
Hmm.
Second in command says to him, "Hey, well, you know the tenet,
You're lame
leg
now.
broke. Your leg broke. We gotta leave you." So leader says, wait. Let's just rest here the night and then we'll decide what we're doing. Okay? They
Hmm.
rested there the night. In the morning, apparently the leader said, yeah. No, this is it. This is the promised land. This is right here. Right here where we are. This is the promised land.
It's all salty.
You know where they were? They were in the middle of Salt Lake City.
City. Hmm.
The
Salt Lake. That's where
yeah,
they
the
were.
deserted Salt Lake.
Like it's a Salt Lake. Okay, so
And then the interesting
that's
thing too.
funny.
Okay, the interesting thing is they were. It's a very racial religion in the sense of they didn't allow blacks into their church until
Tell them why.
they
Tell
had to
them why.
only because they had to join the union and they had to change their rules. So all of a sudden they had a revelation that said we allow blacks into our
Tell them
church.
why. Tell them why they did not allow blacks into their religion. They
Well,
have a
it's
Bible
in the
verse for
book.
that.
It's in the book, the Book of Mormon. The whole book is about
Son
the
of
good
Ham.
and the bad, and the dark skinned people and against the white skinned people, and they're the bad, the evil entities, and you're the good people with the white
Well,
skin. And so it was that way.
let me clarify that theology
Yeah,
for
go ahead.
you. The theology goes like the son of Ham, sons of
Yeah,
Ham, that would be me, the melanin,
yeah,
right? Our skin became dark because of all the sins we committed. And I'm like, damn, after this
yeah.
broadcast, I'm going to commit some more sins. God damn it.
I mean, how
Right?
can you?
As soon as
Interesting.
this just so that you guys know, as soon as this broadcast is done, I'm going to commit more sins. I'm going to commit more sins. I'm telling you that right now. So the next time you see me, I might have a tan. I might. Right?
Yeah,
So
yeah. Yeah, they got some deep history that no one wants to look at, and they weren't even like. There's a generation or two that don't even know the history, so they're now learning about this guy that's marrying 13-year-old kids that what they call prophet, and he found these, so the pedophilia, the polygamy aspect of it, and even the legal aspect of allowing people to do it in the plain sight,
Yeah,
so it's
David,
not like the
can you
government doesn't
talk
want.
about can you talk about the polygamy, because it
Yeah,
just is
well,
it's a concept that's
it's
so
a break
different.
off situation in a sense. So when the Joseph Smith guy died, that's when the whole religion kind of separated. And so you have your FLDS, which is the people who have multiple wives and live in Colorado City, in parts of Utah, like in that have multiple wives and whole communities. And then
Hmm.
there's the other ones who just dress normal and fit in and have one wife but 20 kids and just play that whole mindset.
Understood.
So there's
Okay.
like a whole different section. They don't want to address each other, but it all came down with theory and keeping who's in command. Like when that death, and Brigham Young created the people who are playing normal with the
Hmm.
BYU and a whole school in a whole state
Sure.
controlled by Mormons. And then you got your FLDS that are hiding in pockets to have multiple wives and inbreeding.
Is there a lot of fighting in between the two
No, they
divisions?
just try
No.
to stay in their own
Mhm.
different. I mean, same kind of programming. Deep, maybe
Right.
not as much as like you're going to marry off your daughter, and some guy has 13 wives that are all ages from 10 to 40. I mean, that's kind of what these guys have. But
Yeah.
the mentality is interesting in relationship,
I,
anyways.
I gotta ask. I gotta ask the question. So this was your experience in childhood. As an adult, when did that watershed moment hit you? That, oh, maybe this is not such a good idea. Maybe, what
Yeah,
happened, David? We want to
you
know.
know, and they see the Mormons, they think that you got offended and then you're going to just step away. But they use a lot of excuses in the sense of that. But really, for me, it was more like there was no stimulation. I was looking for, like, if I was in another religion that had like, if I was a Jew and there was a process to go learn more about some topic, I would have probably went to that avenue. But in Mormonism, it was just learn the same basic regurgitated stories and then that's it, just do time. I was more looking at something different. So I kind of fell out away, and my wife did too. So it was nice in the transition because when we left, it wasn't, the kids weren't in the middle of one going to still believe, is still believed, and one didn't. So it was, yeah, it was kind of nice that in the sense of both of us went out together, but it wasn't like any, like, oh my gosh, it was more like there's more to life and I want to learn stuff. And that's when my whole journey kind of went into learning. Well, that's when I started looking into like hypnosis and mind, and so that's kind of when I took on my
So
spiritual.
my question, I guess my question, did you receive resistance, and what kind of resistance did you receive?
Luckily, my family wasn't like 100% hardcore core. So, like, my brothers left and I left. So it was an easier transition. You do get shunned. You lose your whole every relationship you had, like even cousins and people we're close to, no talking. I mean, you just kind of live your life, but you just no more communication because your interests are totally different now. Um, you're by yourself. You have to learn how to be a loner. And that's how I became the hermit, even then a divorce, and then, so you lose all those things, and then you kind of, my life kind of unveiled itself to what I am today. So that's kind of the process. But yeah, it was looking back, you have to look at it from I've been duped, but what can I learn from it rather than,
You see, that's a
you know,
positive way of looking at it, because I think there's a slight difference between Mormonism and Catholicism. In Mormonism, there's a conditioning aspect to it, right? In
there's a
Catholicism,
lot of guilt tripping.
it's straight up. You're guilty. You're
Yeah, but
guilty.
they're using the guilt trip of you're not going to. Well, here's some of the other programming things they use is like your families are forever. So they use this theory. So if you
Correct.
leave, it messes up the whole family, and all the grandmas are angry. And then, oh, well, we'll give you some money if you stay. And they do some crazy things to try to get you to stay because you disrupt the whole family tree.
Hmm.
But they also have things called like, what was the other? They have like interesting programs like family. Well, you home teaching and visiting teaching. So the males will visit every family in the ward they call the areas that they live in. You'll visit everybody, so that person that's in charge knows what's going on with every single person. So it's like a Nazi tell on your neighbor thing. If there's any problems, good or bad, like
Yeah.
it's a system of getting to the next guy, then he can report to the next guy. So everybody knows what everybody's doing in their little community, and so the guilt trips of obeying the rules and going to this place that you have to die before you can see if you made it. That's where the guilt trip is. They keep you hostage in your family beliefs, and the tradition.
You
So
know,
not the death card. I mean, the Catholics use the death card, but everybody's got that death card that you're playing in your poker hand that you don't want to. That you're believing something you can't support 100%. That death card, what is it?
I love this show. We have a defecting Mormon on the show. We have a ex-Catholic who's a medium, and
Yeah,
we have
yeah.
me who's about to press the down key on the elevator button, right, all the way down. So I love this show for this. Nicole, you
Hmm.
were brought up Catholic, correct?
Hmm. Correct. Hmm.
And here you are.
Yeah,
Here you
here I
are.
am.
You
Right.
want to tell us how you got here with us sinners?
Well, just as a little girl, I mean, I was 3 and 4 years old sitting in church and seeing angels flying around. And I thought everybody could
Wow.
see what I saw,
Really?
and I'm like, to
Yeah.
say my mom or dad. Um, so it was just natural for me, but I didn't realize that I was a sinner by my gifts being born until I got a little older, and then I heard about the whole psychic and stuff, that's a sin, and I'm like, but I can't change who I am. God made me this way, so how is that a sin? So I
Mm-hmm.
struggled with that for a long time, and a lot of people do that are gifted, because they're like, wait,
Yeah.
because they program you to think you're doing bad or doing wrong,
What age are
you
you?
know
What age are you
uh
at that time
when
when
I
you?
realized,
Yeah.
7, 8, that
Yeah. So
I
that's
noticed that I
when.
was different from other
Yeah. Well,
people at that
that
time.
you weren't doing something good, right?
Right.
That
I
you
wasn't
were.
doing anything but talking to people that they couldn't see. Sorry, I
I
can
couldn't
see him. It's
explain
not
it.
my fault that you can't see it.
God
You know.
damn,
Hmm.
you
Yeah.
So
sinners, you
yeah,
sinners. Listen,
yeah.
when it comes to this concept of religion and all of the things that we have seen in our lifetime,
Hmm.
right? We saw pretty much the destruction of the Catholic Church when all these things came out, right?
Hmm.
When all these allegations came out, right, of priests interfering with little boys, okay,
Yeah.
because of the celibacy issue, with all of those things that have come out, um, which are not very positive. Even in the spiritual community, how many yoga gurus have been caught molesting female students?
Hmm.
Yeah. Hey, just so you know, like the Boy Scouts of America went bankrupt because
Right.
the Mormons were like the biggest supplier of kids, and they were caught in lawsuits for molestations. And so, like, if you didn't join in, you get paid. Like, so the Mormon Church eliminated the Boy Scout program. They got, what I'm saying. So it was like every town you live in, there's a Mormon church. They call it wards, and every ward, every young kid is in a Boy Scout program. So you may go to these Boy Scout camps, and then, man, you could do anything to kids, right? So there's totally pedophilia in this religion. There's totally, and it's not necessarily because of celibacy. It's just that's where they know if the Catholic people, from what I heard, if there was Catholic issues, you can go to the Mormon church as a safe haven to keep yourself safe from any persecution. Because they would have hotlines that when you would call in for a rape or any problem, it would go right to the church's lawyers system, the 800 number, and they would diffuse the situation and pay for all the things before it could go
Oh, that's
legal.
not
So
good. That's not good at all. Let me
no,
tell
and
you
that's what they
something.
got caught doing. So it's
Not
interesting
good.
keeping all. That's why you don't see or hear all these big things because they kept it under, and they have all the bishops have. They just had a big issue where the bishops have no glass windows in their doors, so they interview young kids about masturbation all day, and that's how they can have problems when there's no windows. There's with your young kids, and there's an old man and young kids all the time in the same room with no supervision. So
Man, that's wrong. That's
they're
so wrong.
dealing with a lot of
Listen,
stuff right now. And so
listen.
that's how we were conditioned. Yeah.
That is so wrong. It's particularly disgusting when somebody uses a belief system. Now, we said about the negative aspects
Hmm.
of cults. There is a positive thing that I want to say about cults. Yeah, I do. I do.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. When you meet a cult person, that person believes in what they are saying and they're ready to die for it, huh? They absolutely are. Okay? Now, and they're not necessarily, they will put themselves on the line. There are a lot of people who believe in a number of things. A lot of people in the spiritual community, they do not have that kind of faith. They do not have that grit. They do not have that kind
Yeah,
of tenacity. And I
yeah,
want to just put that out there.
yeah.
My So there is that part on, and the same thing, the same compliment that I just gave them is their downfall. I'm going to just say a few things. Um, Jim Jones, remember him? Waco, Texas. David Koresh. The
Hmm.
man's name was David. Like,
And
that's not good.
Waco, right? Hmm.
Yeah, Waco,
Wacko.
Texas.
You think of
Right?
wacko? No.
Like David, just so that we know, that guy's name was David.
Yeah,
Right?
we're all got the same
These
gig.
people went to bat for these belief systems. You have a bunch of people willing to drink poison
Hmm. Yeah,
Hmm.
for their belief system. I mean, like, for real, where they knew that they were going to die. This man handed out the cherry juice,
yeah.
okay, and they
Hmm.
drank the cherry juice and they died. My point is, not even in the military you have that kind of conditioning,
Hmm.
okay.
Hmm.
And so my question to you, David, is, from your experience of the cult experience, how effective is the programming for these people, to the extent that they're willing to go to these extremes for their beliefs?
100%. That's the zealot mentality, right? That's because we were taught. I mean, in the Mormon Church, especially, and Jehovah's Witness. Let's just look at what we see around our world. Is we're the ones converting, having to sell our religion to you because,
Yeah,
like, we're the
evangelical.
ones out converting because it's in our mindset. They can, even when you're not on a mission, there's a zealot program that you're running that controls, even when you're married and you're living and say somebody moves in around the block, you're obligated, you feel obligated to go tell them the truth because you feel like you have the true church and no one else does. You're given that prospect, like everyone has the same thought of we're only true church. But the guilt tripping of not sharing what you know and letting everybody know who you are, and then that guilt is always within you. So you're always feeling like you can't just relax and be at peace ever because they got you controlled your time every day of the week, sexually. I mean, so yeah, it's hard to break it free, but when you could, it's a hard.
Yeah, I listen to me, guys. If you want to know whether you're in a cult or not, you need to ask yourself a question. For those of you who are watching this broadcast, the first question you should ask yourself is, if I leave, what are the consequences? If
Is
there are
was it
any
worth
consequences,
it? Yeah.
then you're in a cult,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
What do the second question, you could do it in reverse. What do I stand to gain from being here? If the answer is women, money, sex, material stuff, you're in a cult.
And a lot of people that we would knock on the door, the only reason you would join that group is because you needed an upgrade in life. That's the only way I was able to see it. Like they were sold because they needed an upgrade. They didn't have a group of people in their life, and that was the only thing we can offer is a group of people that believe this. When you fake it till you, and then when they're in, then you kind of just let them go. But it was, you convert them, and then only the people would join if there was an upgrade. Because if you didn't, you couldn't get past the second time. We would stop it, knock. If we were invited back the second time, we invited you to baptism. Okay, we met you twice, and we were forced after we learned how to. It was a thing we had processes we had to go every lesson. Just couldn't divert from it. So the second time we meet people, you had to invite them to get baptized. There was no you just trying to get them right in there and boom. So there was no think about this. Let's look at all the different options. So some people need upgrades. That's how I look at it. Just hey, they need that upgrade for the moment, and then maybe
I,
it helps.
no, I understand. And Nicole, when you're
Hmm.
dealing with people as a spiritual counselor who are coming to you and they're telling you, um, I need your services. First of all, if they're particularly religious, if they're from a religious cult, as an example, they will probably not be looking for
Yeah.
you. Funny enough, the majority of people who go to spiritual people and mediums and psychics happen to be religious people, huh? Just so that we're
Mhm.
clear.
Yeah.
I would
Right?
say 80% of my clients are. Mhm.
I mean, there's a moment when they have to get rid of that fear, that fear, and because something is so important to come to you, right? That
Religious
couldn't be
Mhm.
people
answered
go to
anywhere.
spiritual people for to access the spiritual world because they know they can't even
Yeah.
mention that in church,
Right.
right?
Well, they know no one
Yeah.
knows how to pray, right? The way we were taught how to pray is just not even it's amazing because once you learn what prayer is, then you could
Right.
see that it could change the whole experience. But
Right.
they don't teach you how to pray,
And the way you're taught in the Catholic Church is to pray through saints.
really.
So they're not even taught to pray directly to God.
Ours are more like
They're
memorized. Just there's no
yeah.
Yeah.
meaning. There's nothing in it. It's just hope we get home safe. Bless the food. Blah,
It's an
and everyone says the
organization,
same
David.
crap.
Listen, David, this is an organization, okay? Like you can't just be going up to God. God is the CEO, right?
Mhm.
You go to
Yeah,
the
yeah,
supervisor.
man. What makes you special?
You go to your supervisor, you go to the
Yeah,
line manager, and right, and
that's
you
it.
go up. You don't have to be going to the C-suite level,
Permission
which
slips, huh?
actually takes away from the concept of omnipotence. If
Mm.
he's omnipotent, he can listen to all of us at the same time. If he's
Mhm.
omniscient, he knows what's in your heart, everyone, right?
But
I don't.
discernment
I'm not
is
going
like
to
a
trust
key.
a man to tell. That's a lot of trust you have to give, right?
Mhm.
Especially when it is the man that you're going to, the brotherhood that he belongs to, has a reputation for being pedophiles.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. What you support, right? Can you really support something 100%? You don't. You can't believe in that. I mean, when you got pedophiles
that's
at the top, how can you still play hardcore? And you're in. I don't know.
listen, David. That's why they end up with coming to spiritual people.
Yeah.
The
Mhm.
reason why they come to spiritual people is because they lack clarity.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
and so if you are a medium, if you are a psychic, right? If you are anything along those lines, right? I used to teach yoga, okay? And I can tell you that my yoga class was like the UN. I used to teach Orthodox Muslims
Mhm.
yoga.
Hmm.
I used to teach the Hindus yoga, the Christians yoga, and so on. And this was at a time, I used to teach them to meditate as well. This was at a time, David, when it was unpopular. They thought yoga was from the devil.
Yeah.
All this meditation stuff will bring you into contact with demons that will tell you
Yeah.
stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, what do you think prayer is? Yeah, think prayer might be meditation as well. You're talking to an entity that exists not in this realm. You're talking to an entity that exists not in this realm. I'm guessing that that entity might tell you things. If you're a Christian, and this is where the whole demonic thing comes in.
Hmm.
So let's say that you're a Christian and they ban you from learning meditation because meditation is from the devil.
Mhm.
You go praying, right? And the entity that you're talking to tells you that these infidels over there, right? These infidels over there, that the meditation group, these
Yeah.
are demons. So you must pick up your weapon in hand and go chop up the demons that are bringing demons into this world. You think the entity that spoke to you has anything good for you in mind? These
No.
are the things that I ask myself when it is that I see the way that religious people act. Okay,
Mhm.
when it is that you're ready to pick up violence against people, when it is that you're willing to pick up violence against people that are in your own congregation,
Mm.
right?
Yeah. Or
Violence,
family.
really,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? It's not only violence, like cut them off socially and so on. You're willing
Right.
to do
Judgment.
that.
Mhm.
Whoever you're speaking
Physical.
to when you're praying is not a good person.
Yeah.
Period.
Right.
Point.
Right. Mhm.
And so, I suppose my next question is actually, how are you now? You good, David?
I'm good.
You need to be baptized. I could fly down to California.
No, I think it's more of a deconstruction process, really. So yeah, no, I don't need it. I'm all good.
Do you
It's
know this?
amazing. when you can clear your when you can consciously be aware of where you've been and take full responsibility for your life, because you leave that where you gave authority and you were comfortable just following, to now you got to take full responsibility, the ability to respond, rather than from a heart perspective, a heart head coherence, rather than a reaction from the programming you had before. So that's the fun part of talking to people who are willing, who have had their belief systems cracked. It's they're at a vulnerable stage to, help figure out how to
So
live a life.
let me ask you a question, and this is a surgical question. You ready for it?
Mm. Okay.
Do you ever wake up sometimes and just want to beat up those sinners? Do you relapse?
Well, but
Have
that's
you
a
relapsed?
superpower, because I feel like I really, I can understand where they're coming from, but yeah, that's where I have to look at it. I don't have any problem with them, but I know that they could probably gang up on you pretty easily as energy vampires,
So
being zealous.
Nicole,
Hmm.
now that you're firmly in the realm of the unseen,
Hmm.
Mm,
right?
Hmm.
Do
mm.
do you ever have relapses of guilt? Do you ever feel guilty that
The only
you might not be doing the right thing? That you might be seeing the business end of a pitchfork sometime soon?
No, 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 no. No, at first I was, when I really first started practicing when I was like 21, 22. But after I've established such a strong connection with
Mm.
everybody on the other side, it's like a welcome. Like they are excited when I pop up, and
Mm.
I have established relationship. I know I'm not doing anything wrong. And the biggest thing that I dealt with after leaving the Catholic Church was the whole meat thing on Fridays. That's what I struggled with, because even if it's like you crave meat on Fridays for some reason during Lent, but you can't have it. And it took me a
Mm.
while to be able to
Mm.
eat meat on Fridays, like a few years, because the guilt was just in there. That's a
Mm.
simple, example, but yeah.
Can I tell you something?
Mm.
I'm a good Catholic because I don't crave meat on Fridays.
That's one thing you're good at. Yeah, I'm
All
not.
right.
No,
Right.
you don't have to worry
I
about
got,
that, right?
I'm good. I'm good.
It's a
All
real
right.
thing, though. Hmm.
No, but guilt tripping is like, I don't have any trip on that anymore. But it is a big thing, because that's what it's all about, is getting over those trips of guilt that you keep stumbling over, of just your
Hmm.
mentality, your emotional
Sure.
conditioning, and your behaviors. Right, the whole CBT process kind of
Hmm.
answers a lot of that.
We also need to talk about spiritual cults. So that
Mm.
is a
Yeah.
very
Woo.
very negative aspect of spiritual community. And I'm
Yeah, that's
saying
people,
this
huh?
because there are spiritual cults out there that bring people in, right? And their programming is very pervasive, huh?
Mm.
Okay. So they are spiritual cults, and what their technique is not guilt, and neither is it a conditioning.
Was
Their
it sex?
technique is it's well, there's a number of different ways, but they make you give up something.
Mm. Mm. Yeah,
That is,
yeah, yeah.
they make you give up something. So
Hmm.
I remember being part of an organization when I was very, very young. I wanted to do yoga, but I wanted to do yoga at its extreme levels, right? Because it gave me something that I was looking for. And that organization had 14 rules. Okay? And
Hmm.
if I call them by the rules name, Mariadas, y'all could go, right? And part of the Mariadas was no smoking, no drugs, no stimulants of any kind. That would include onions. For those of you who don't know, onions is a what? Yeah, no
Wow.
onions, all right? No
Wow.
friggin' onions.
I
All right,
like that.
Wow.
I just
I
lost
like
my
onions.
entire audience, right? Because onions are mild aphrodisiac. No sex, no smoking, no eating of meat, no eating of anything dead, no eating of any animal products, that kind of thing,
Hmm.
right?
Mhm.
And I have to say, the benefit was that it cleaned my mind out completely. Okay.
Hmm.
Mhm.
The negative part of it is that what I thought was cleaning my mind out completely, let me tell you what snapped me out of that programming.
Hmm.
When the person who was teaching us at the time, because what we were doing was against the society that was around us. They
Hmm.
used to persecute, and they had an idea of who we were. And so the person who was teaching us at the time, I loved this lady. She was like a mother to me, to my heart, right?
Hmm.
And I realized how weak I had become when it is that she tried to help some neighbor's child, a little baby who was in the road, and the neighbor came out and shoved her because this demon person was trying to save a child from getting run over. And I felt an anger inside myself that I would not have normally felt if my head had not been buried inside that space, right? For such a long time. I felt an anger. I knew that I couldn't stay in that path. I knew that I couldn't stay in that path because it
Hmm.
required total submission and total passivity, which is not part of my natural makeup. Okay?
Yeah.
Right.
And so let me tell you how strong that anger was. When the instructor, let's put it that way, my mother in that path got shoved, my anger was so strong that she felt it immediately from a distance. Okay?
Hmm.
She felt it immediately. Okay? And she knew that that entire path, they lost me. You lost me.
Yeah.
So my point on that, they make you give up something. They make you give up a piece of yourself,
Hmm.
whether it's the meat eating part of yourself, whether it's the part of yourself that is the sexual part of yourself. They make you truncate pieces of yourself, right? As a means of cleaning you out. This is how spiritual cults operate. If you are in a spiritual cult and they're telling you, yeah, you must do this, you must not do that, you must do this, and you must give up that, and whatever else. If you are that guy, then you're in a cult. You absolutely are. I don't think, however, a lot of people, they're not as popular as they used to be. Okay,
Hmm.
right? So I can tell you that some of the religious cults and the spiritual cults, and I don't want to necessarily identify them, but they are yogic cults that require you to give up a lot, a lot. I was in one of them. I did. I'll tell you the good part about it is that there was a rapid development, right? It kept stuff that was going on with me, the mental and the spiritual stuff under control,
Hmm.
but I had to give up a lot to get to get to gain that control. And so, by that same token, can we call Buddhism a cult? You see, because that's one of the most peaceful religions on earth. But when we go into the Giants as an example, this is a sect of Buddhism that actually walks around and looks on the ground so that they don't step on any ants to incur any karma.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
extreme.
That's
Extreme. Yeah.
extreme. Hmm. Hmm.
So my question to you, both of you, is when is too much too much?
Yeah. When it feels like it goes against your grain, your gut,
Yeah.
if it
Because
just
that's,
makes you wrench every time.
well, that's going
Yeah.
to be the trigger that pops you out of that belief system. Something's got to be that
Hmm.
important to like question that, and that's something you've given your whole faith to.
Right.
So whatever triggers that jumping off the diving boards in moment.
Right. Well, and like you said, David, there's social cults too. We've all experienced that through the past 3, 4 years. I won't say why, but
Yeah.
that was a very dividing and very,
That was,
animated situation. Yeah.
was a good way. It was an interesting way to divide the people. I didn't know. I didn't think they could, but yeah, they
Hmm.
got you if you didn't do masks, and they were able to get those people
Yeah, that global problem that we had for the last 2 or 3 years.
Hmm.
yeah. I hope I
That
It's
didn't.
like
was
political
that divided the
cults.
people into two cults. All
Yeah,
Yeah.
right,
that's what it felt like.
right. And
Hmm.
the thing about it is that the people in the middle that don't give a shit about you and don't give a shit about you, they were the ones that were the most attacked. Okay, because they
Hmm.
were not in either the take
Yeah.
it or not take it
Yeah.
category,
Yeah.
Right.
right?
Right.
And let me tell you something. Me as an individual, like I try to live a healthy lifestyle, right?
Hmm.
Hmm.
I am not taking any intervention if it is not absolutely necessary. Do you guys
Right.
feel me?
Me
Right,
Mhm.
that
too.
is my
Me too.
belief system.
Mm-hmm.
It
Right.
is my belief system. I'm not taking any intervention unless it is absolutely necessary. Right? I am not going to the dentist unless there's a hole in my tooth.
Right.
Or it hurts.
Unless
Yeah.
you have to. Yeah.
I will
Yeah.
go for checkups, absolutely. I think that's necessary for preventative health. But if
Hmm.
somebody ran up to me and says, "Oh, David, that growing problem that you have, that like you're tall enough as it is, I can give you an injection for that." No,
Yeah.
no.
Or here's a pill that'll make you feel better while you're healing, and then you're addicted to oxys or something, right? So
Right.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
Hmm.
Like a lot of people take things, and I don't mean in a medical sense
right.
or in a social sense. They take things because they want to escape discomfort. Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
because they want to escape discomfort. So let's say I hurt my knee. Okay,
Hmm.
I fall down and I bruise my knee. Back in the day when we were young, I fall down and I bruise my knee, and it's like, oh shit, I scraped up myself.
You put
So we
ice on
went
it.
and we
Yeah.
got the mercurochrome, and that burnt like hell. Okay,
Yeah.
Hmm.
slapped
Hmm.
that on, right? Screamed a little bit like little girls, and we were
Hmm.
off running again.
Hmm.
Nowadays, did you fall and hurt your knee? Well, we got to take some antibiotics for that. Oh yeah. We're gonna take some
Hmm.
antibiotics for that, and we're gonna wrap you up and so on. We
And
don't
the
know whether,
copay is only $200.
yeah,
Yeah.
and you
Only.
know what? We don't know whether that's broken, so I might have to X-ray your entire
Yeah,
leg.
that's
Yeah.
extra, not covered.
And then
Right,
MRI. Out of pocket.
Yeah,
right.
MRI.
I'm gonna have to X-ray that entire leg. There's an listen. People want to avoid discomfort, and you know what? Have some pills, some aspirin, or you know what? Did you just fall down? Your kid just fell down. Have some morphine. Come, let me just put that little
Yeah.
thing.
You
Yeah,
need a Xanax
Listen to
you
now.
me.
need a drip.
Yeah.
Let's get you
Hmm.
a drip.
Listen to me. There's been a dumbing down of society in such a
Yeah,
way that I just can't imagine. We were off and running when we fell down. How many times have I fallen down? Enough. Okay. And I got it right back up and I kept on running. Okay. You couldn't keep me in the house. And the thing about it, sometimes I wouldn't go home for the mercurochrome because you want to know why? Because when they see, oh, you fell down, stay inside the house. No, that's not going to happen.
you only
So
stayed in the house when you got restricted, and that was like torture, right? You wanted to go
It was.
outside, and you
Remember
were put in the house
restriction?
in your
Remember
room.
that?
Yeah, you
Hmm.
so
restricted
I,
to your
I
room.
don't I don't know what's going on with people offering people injections and pills and stuff like that they do not need. Okay,
Hmm.
Right.
there are a number of psychotherapists that are out there. Okay, and I say psychotherapists and psychiatrists, they are guilty of crimes, and I'm saying this,
Mm.
and I say this straight, because if somebody comes to you and says that I feel depressed, do the friggin' work it out with them. You
Hmm.
cannot give them a pill because they're going to get dependent on the pills.
Side effected up. Boom. Now you got 20
Yeah.
different
And
side
they
Do
effects.
might
the
not even
CBT,
need it. Yeah.
do the CBT, do the REBT. There's a
Yeah,
cult of medicine that is happening now.
yeah,
That
because depression back in our day there's no pill for depression. It was just
No.
you figured out your life and you dealt with what was bothering you and you moved on, right? Then all of a sudden this we got a pill for you're not feeling good and not
I
doing
want to
this.
give you a
What?
real life
There's
story. A
pill
real
for
life
everything.
story.
Right.
My
Hmm.
grandmother in the 1918 to 1930, she got married. She had 5 kids. This is the 1930s. It's in a third world country.
Mm,
Okay. Her
mm,
husband died a couple
mm.
of years after she got married.
Ooh,
Okay.
Hmm.
wow.
She finally got married. Husband died. She had to raise 5 kids in the 1930s in a third world country. That would be that would be a qualifier for depression. That woman never complained a day in her life. You
Yeah.
understand where I'm coming from?
Yep.
So a lot of arguments against this are like, well, not everybody's the same. You're right. Not everybody's the same. She could have gone crazy. Absolutely. Right. These were the
Hmm.
choices back then.
Foster kids.
Hmm.
Okay,
Same
and she did
asylum.
what she had to do. So
Hmm.
my point when it is that I'm talking to people about this stuff and the cults and so on, and this is a kind of woman that never understood the concept of depression. Okay. When I
Yeah.
was working in corporate, we regularly received stay at home letters for people who were depressed.
Hmm.
Okay. And I'm talking about, listen to me. I never thought I'd ever live to see the day when somebody sends a letter into work saying, I'm depressed. I'll be home for the next 7 days on paid
You,
depression leave.
yeah,
I
you
never
don't even have
thought
to call in sick and feel guilty. I mean,
Don't even have to call out. They
yeah,
say
you're just depressed, not even
Family
sick.
Leave Act. Hmm.
I
Yeah.
never thought I'd ever live to see this day, but it actually has happened. And this is not to put
Wow.
down mental health. We're just simply
Yeah.
pointing out that
No.
there is a cult of medicine that is trying to feed people opioids, feed people unnecessary medication. Absolutely, there is. And if
But
you do,
if they took that week and did some mental health, it would work.
It
correct,
would.
If they took that
Hmm.
week and said, let's figure out what's going on, and every day you do something, it would take a week and you get back to work. If not,
there
you
are,
do the
there are
drugs and then
different
you get
levels of
sick.
depression, but I do realize, and I have seen it in myself, okay? Because
Mm,
I remember, and this is happening, this has happened to me. I went to a clinic right here because I injured myself in the gym. I
mm.
was asked whether I'm feeling bad about it. I'm like, no, 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 you're a medical doctor. Don't ask me no question. You're asking the wrong person. All right. You're not going to load me up with any kind of pills ever. No, you're not
I
going to do
know.
that.
Mm,
Right. Right. You're asking the wrong person that question. And I'm like, I'll be good. I'll be good. I'll be
Hmm.
good. So there's a cult of medicine, and there's a cult of people that are following it that thinks that the entire population should be on some kind of medication or another. And
yeah.
this is what I think. I think from a spiritual perspective, when it is that you outsource your stability, your mental, your emotional stability
Right.
out
Right.
to a pill, you have given up your control and the dominion over yourself to whoever's giving you that pill.
Yeah. Or
Right.
you give authority to any authority figure. That's the same as taking the pill. Anybody
Right.
you give power to, your authority figures, which is church, the Walmart supervisor, whatever, the
Right.
Walmart store manager, we give our authority to certain little people wear costumes and stuff. We get mixed up with all the all the characters, right? So
All right. So the next thing on the agenda, David, you have taken a course in counseling, and you're going
mhm,
to be helping these people who
yeah.
are um, trying to get out of cults. So if you guys are out there right now and you're listening to this broadcast, whether now or in the future or in the past, as the case may be,
Mhm.
what
Yeah.
we David is going to be the person that you go to. And I'll tell you why, because you want to go to someone who has had the experience and had to drag themselves out of it, right? You could go to me as well. I've had that experience, and Nicole has had that experience. But
Mhm.
going to a generic counselor who could tell you generically, in theory, what you should be doing is not the same thing as somebody who has been through the experience, because he
Yeah.
knows what to expect. And this is why we brought David onto the show, because we wanted to show you guys a real counselor doing real work inside the community. A lot of you may have people who are looking for ways out of a cult, because some people actually ask for help. So, David, first of all, give these people a way to get a hold of you before we do our giveaway and we do a little promo for our UCM community. Go ahead.
Yeah, they can get a hold of me on Facebook at David Chance and just give me a little direct. That's all I got right now. I'm gonna get all my other socials together and start getting ready to put my pole in the pond. So um, yeah.
So it's David Chance on Facebook. I'm going to put that on the screen for you guys if I still have that up there.
Hmm.
All right. So David Chance, you look for him on Facebook. And if you can't find him on Facebook, find me on Facebook or find Universal Citizen Media, bounce us a message or email us at info@universalcitizentv.com, and we
Hmm.
will put you in contact with David. And guys, listen, if you have members of your family or siblings or even your kids that are part of any kind of cult agenda, right? Email us, reach out. Okay. Before we go, I want to do a little bit of a promo. First of all, for those of you who live on the rocks. We just want to say that we are actually going to be having a movie night, right? And the movie night is going to be in the UCM community. Now, for those of you who don't know what that is, I'm just going to show it on screen. This is the UCM community. You can find us at community.universalcitizentv.com. And once you get there, you'll reach a landing page and you can sign up for the community. That's the first thing. We're about to go to a um, little bit of a break. So, Nikki, tell these people what you do and how they can contact you.
Absolutely. Anybody can find me on UCM Networks, on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. I also have my own website, which is solutionsforyourself.com. I have multiple services there. I am an intuitive reader, and a business strategic planner. So if you're at a point in your life where you're blocked and you're not sure where to go and what to do, I can really help you see through. And I have over 3 decades of experience. So absolutely reach out, because I'm willing to help everybody. So, yeah.
Yes, and Nikki is also my counselor. So I've said this before. We're only bringing people on this show that are going to be real people doing real work in this community. We are not bringing on fakers. We are not doing that.
Yep.
So I vouch for these guys. Absolutely, they're the guys that you need to be going to. Now for our giveaway. You guys
Mhm.
ready? I should have put this on the other screen. I'm going to try to do so right now. Let me switch the screen.
Mhm.
QR.
There
And
it is.
ladies and gentlemen, here is your QR code. I'm going to hold it up there for a little minute. And the giveaway today is a course on forgiveness. A lot of y'all may need that course. So if y'all have been slighted, if y'all have been harmed in any way, and y'all want to learn the art of forgiveness, you can absolutely scan the QR code, come into the community, and we will make it accessible to you immediately. It's automatic, so you can go through that course in forgiveness, right? And this is forgiveness not from any kind of slant, like a religious slant. This is the practice of forgiveness. For those of you who are available on Sunday night, we're doing a movie night. So please look for the advertisements on Facebook and in your email and join us on movie nights. The chat will be enabled. I believe we're doing Peaceful Warrior on Sunday. Otherwise, take care, guys. All right, so let's get back to our chat. You guys have
Mhm.
anything else to say to the audience before we call it a day?
I just wanted to say that freebie is really good on forgiveness, because once you can forgive yourself, it's for yourself, not for others. And that's really part of the healing journey, is forgiveness. So it's really important to scan that QR code and really take the course. Mhm.
All right, David, do you have anything else to say to our audience?
Well, I think just if they could just one little key nugget would be maybe learning how to take a timeout in your life. Like in sporting events, there's always timeouts. So when you need to kind of take a timeout and just reset, reevaluate, most people don't realize they have that option or they forget. So just something like that. Adult timeout.
All right.
Great.
Guys, this has been our show for today. We will see you next week. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.